very much seriously into our lecture. We have to discuss few very, very important things. That's why we won't be wasting any time and we'll just starting recording. So for recording purposes, let me share my screen with all of you. And okay, so people are still coming in, and hopefully they'll keep on coming in. But we will just start our lecture now. Anyone who will now join, they will be now waiting, or maybe. Okay, so can you see my screen, everyone? The lecture one notes on that screen in the chat window. If someone can mention that yes, you can see my screen. Yes, so you are able to see this lecture one, and again this text file that is there. So people are still coming in and they are going in the waiting room. Anyhow, so if you had a look at the video, like again, our last lecture ended here. I asked everyone to download curl, and I told in that like in last lecture that how would you know that your curl is installed or not. So whenever we request something from the web, so the response that comes back from the servers, response that comes back from some place, that response has something called headers. So I'm just starting my today's topic over here. And the first thing that I want to tell all of you is that there is an information that comes. So again, it is basically related to our previous lecture, because now I'll tell you how to use curl to find out the headers, to find out the different important aspect of the things. So headers. So there is something called a header that comes up with the information when we request something on the web. So you request something on the web, and request is either successful or not successful, and things like that, and that happens. So now I'll ask all of you who are here that how many of you see this curl statement like this? When you do curl, just curl, you get this curl, try curl -- help for more information. How many of you can see that in your command prompt? Because now I'll be telling you headers, about the headers, and I'll practically demonstrate the headers for you. So how many of you can just successfully do this curl, and they have got this curl, try curl -- help for more information? Because this was something that was required in last lecture. Anyhow, I'm expecting that you have this curl something, and in this curl environment, I want you to, okay, that's good, Constant. So in curl environment, I want you to write this something like this: curl -- include, and write down HTTP, not S, and write wikipedia.org. Curl -- include HTTP : wikipedia.org, and hit enter. Do that and hit enter and see what comes up. Who says, can I see the last lecture? Can I watch the last lecture? Why? Well, okay, you can do that, but again, why didn't you see it till now, Gautam? Because I already shared the recording with all of you, and I was expecting you like everyone to have a look at that before coming over here. Okay, you were unable to. No problem. So Gautam, it's up to you. If you want, I would suggest you can just stay here, and you can install curl quickly. So you can just attend this class, and later on you can look at the lecture, or it's up to you, because I'll be making this video also available. So it's up to you if you don't want. Anyhow, so when you do that, and yes, someone has shared, Clive has shared his output. So this is the output that you get. Now I want you to just read this output. This is very important, and this is something that I want everyone to understand what is going on. Now you see that when I requested this HTTP, no S over here. So I requested this HTTP wikipedia.org, which is the wrong address. By the way, which is the wrong address. Now when I requested for it, I see that I get HTTP 1.1. So it's something like, it looks like that it's telling that the version that is used over here is HTTP 1.1. And then there is something called response code, the HTTP response code. Now this is very important, and I want everyone to just have a look at this. What is this response headers all about? So HTTP response headers. Now see here, there are some HTTP response headers that tell us that whether our request was successful, whether our request was what and what, etc., etc., etc. Now, if you see our output over here, and everyone has this output, only Clev shared his output, but I am expecting that everyone is getting something like this in their output. Is that correct? Those who have curl installed in their system. No response. Only Clev is responding or Gautam is responding. I'm not getting any other response from anyone else. It's very bad. Anyhow, so if you see here, I'm expecting that you people are doing with that. Anyhow, so you see here that this is 301 TLS redirect. So 301. So I am getting a request, I'm getting a response code of 301. Let me just check what is this 301 code. 301 response header. What is this response header 301? Now it says that, you see, not error. 301 is moved permanently. It is saying a header is coming and it's saying that the website you are looking for, I'm looking for this website. And by the way, what curl is doing? Curl is basically trying to access the website by using command line. Makes sense to everyone? It is using command line to access the website. So it says that the website, that web address that you have given has been moved permanently. 301 is basically it is saying move permanently. The HTTP 301 move permanently redirect status response code indicates that a requested resource has been definitively moved to the URL given by the location. Now it has been moved, and where it has been moved, you see they have given this output. So these are called headers. These are all called headers, and these headers do tell us that whether the request was successful or not. So when the request receives is 301, it means that the resource has been moved somewhere. And they say that there is a location header. If you go at the down, you'll find that there is a location header, and which says HTTPS Wikipedia. It says it's not at HTTP, rather it has to be at HTTPS. Just leave other headers for the time being. Are you people making sense of it, Clev? HTTPS. So now I'll do another thing. I'll say curl -- include HTTPS rather, right? Because it says to me that the location you are looking for has been moved to this one. So I'll say HTTPS wikipedia.org. Now, if you see that now I received something else. So again, it says HTTP 1.1. Okay, it says 301 move permanently. Now it is again saying move permanently. Here it was saying TLS redirect. Now it is saying move permanently. It is still saying that the source you are looking for has been moved permanently. Now, here I want you to just experience something. It has just not only given this 301 move permanently, it has just given some HTML to us as well. If you see here, there is some HTML as well. Now, even though we don't know any HTML, even though we have not discussed any HTML as yet, but you can quickly guess that, okay, it has some HTML tagging, some tag there, 301 move permanently. It says move permanently, the document has been moved to ahref, something like that. But anyhow, we are not concerned with that. It says that move permanently, 301 is still showing move permanently, and it says that I have given in the location. So what is the difference between this one and the previous one? It has www as well. So I was accessing it without www. Before that, I was accessing it without S even, and now I was accessing it without www. It says that it has been moved permanently, and you have to go and find out this one. Okay, now I'll do this. Curl -- include HTTPS for www.wikipedia.org. Press enter. Can anyone tell me what I have received now? For your information, now I have received the complete Wikipedia HTML page. Surprised or not? You see what is going on? Actually, we have accessed the Wikipedia page. If you see here, now I have given the right address. So now this is the HTML that is coming back. Now starting from this one, this is complete Wikipedia page. If you see here, if I go to the bottom, it's complete Wikipedia page. And it is exactly the same page which comes up if I do something like this. If I say wikipedia.org, it's basically just, that this one, by some means, this one is represented, or by some information, this one is represented over here. And I am checking it. Now, the main thing to notice here, now HTTP 1 has 200 code. Now I'll tell you, what is this 200 code? 200 and response code. Now 200 code tells us that your response was successful. 200, okay, that you have got successfully the file you were looking for. Now, here comes a very important concept. I'll tell you about the response codes in general now. So every response code refers to some typical thing. And I'll tell you, if the response code return is 100 to 199, it says informational response. If it is from 200 to 299, successful response. And by the way, you would have seen this 404 error a lots of time. This 404 error refers to an error which says that client error message. The client error means that the resource has not been found, or there is something wrong with the resource has been moved or something like it is deleted. That's why it's not. And redirection messages, you see, we have received 301 and 302, 301 messages. They were redirection messages. So now an interview question right from this day 2 of your lecture course. Listen, sometimes interviewer might ask you that you are accessing a website and you are getting a 500 error. What does that mean? So 500 error typically means that there is something wrong with the server, not with the client. If a 400 error occurs, it means there is something wrong with the client or the resource that you are trying to access. Are you people, are you getting sense of it? If you are getting sense of it. So whenever the 404 error occurs, it means the resource has some problem. Page has been deleted. Page has something. So client is not able to access that. Client has given the wrong address, by the way. So client has some error. But when you talk about server error messages, it means that server has gone down. So if server will go down, you will always get a message of 500-525-599. Everyone understand the concept of these response headers? So these response headers are very, very, very important. And I'll tell you later on, I'll tell you where you can see that in your browser as well. But right now we are looking over here. So 200 means successful. Now I have successfully received the Wikipedia page. But if you see that when I was getting this 301 message, it means I was not getting successfully. It was saying redirect, somewhere redirect. And then again, 301 moved permanently. It was saying that no, your resource is not found because you're not using the right URL. Should I expect that you have got the concept? I have successfully transferred the concept that basically you need to know these response codes. And I would recommend all of you who are right now attending the lecture, or maybe if you are later on looking at the video, I would request you that please review these response codes, read about them. They are very important. You being a web developer, you should technically know what's going on. And let me tell you, the question that I gave you, the interview question, it was asked from one of my students when he was appearing for the interview at Google. So they asked that, okay, if someone is getting 505 message or 500 message, what does that mean? Do you know about that? So he knew about that, or maybe he did not know. But you should be knowing that, okay, 500 message means server has some problem. 400 message means the resource or the client has some problem. 300 message means that resource has been moved to some other location. It's not deleted or anything, but it has been moved to some other location. So then you say, okay, 200 means, okay, whenever I get a 200 message, so maybe an interviewer may ask you a question that, okay, you have received a 200 response from the website. What does that mean? It means you will say that I have successfully received the website. I have successfully received the resource that I was looking for. Is that clear to everyone? That's wonderful. I am just getting some responses from some folks as well. Okay, right. That's wonderful. So I've added this headers. So headers tell us about the received information, like the status of received information, status, and everything, etc. Status, etc. of the received information. Now I have told you, and you can just check that the response headers you can check starting from 100, and then there are 500. So you have to just read it by yourself. If you are just curious enough to know. Now another important and very interesting fact that I want to discuss with you. There is something called a query string that we will use. A query string. What is a query string? Let me tell you what is a query string. Did we discuss query string? Did I discuss that in the last class? Again, if you have seen that in the video, anyhow, if I've done that or not. So if I say cat, for example, if I search cat, so you see that my URL just goes so many characters over there. And the one thing that I want you to just focus on is that whenever something starts with question mark and then a key value pair is being basically followed by that one, we say that this is basically query string that is going on. And I'll tell you another very interesting thing. By ourselves, I'll just do that. So if I say google.com and I come over here and I say /search question mark q equal to dog. Rather than cat, I'm giving dog, sorry, not two. Dog. So what does that mean? It means that it will say, okay, you see that my query is going and I am directly applying this query. So question mark gives some extra functionality, or it passes some extra information from my system to the server. So I'm saying open google.com, but give it a query also. Q is equal to dog. And let me tell you another very, very interesting example that you will enjoy most. I open up wikipedia.org again, and I go to its English version, and I open up this JavaScript article. And now see here, this is a JavaScript article, and it is coming up over here. Now I can use a very interesting, first of all, I'll say use skin. Use skin is equal to modern. Use skin is equal to modern. Press enter. Magic. Did everyone see that? Question mark use skin equal to modern. Jingyak, did you try that? Everyone, did you try that? Use skin equal to modern. I'll just give that in the chat window so that if you are unable to do that. So just after this JavaScript, I've just used use skin equal to modern. Now, more of that. If I say action equal to edit, if I do edit, if I am logged in, it will allow me to edit this article. It's not allowing me, of course, because I'm not logged in. If you are logged in, it might allow you to update that article. And not only that, if you say action is equal to history, if you say action is equal to history, you see that it says that how many revisions have been made to this article. Cool, isn't that? Yeah, can I get some yeses or no's in the chat window? Nothing in chat. Very bad. Anyhow, so this is basically, this is called, this question mark is called query string. Whenever something starts with a question mark and then a key value pairing, then we basically call it that this is a query string. And query string will be very important when we talk about HTML. When we discuss HTML, then I will give you a very good sense of that one, how we just go about that, and how do we work on that, those query strings. Right, so let's move forward. So I hope you have seen that, because I have not received any chat message. Looks like you people are either not hearing me, or either you are not following me. Like again, not doing that, doing that, because I've not received any response at all from you. Okay, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, so now let's come back to our business, and this is what I was just I wanted to discuss about few things. I just discuss about query string, and I will finalize this document because we have to start a new document. So query string, something that starts with question mark and followed by key value pair. Okay, Gautam, yes, it's up to you, because I will share the recording of this one. You go and look at that one. No worries, right? You can just leave the meeting maybe, and you look at that one. Anyhow, you might that not be able to. But anyhow, you can do that. It's up to you. So I'm ending this lecture one part over here, and now I will starting another one, and I'll call it a new file, and I'll call it lecture 2. So I'm calling it lecture 2, and let's give it a date as well, January 13, 2022. Let's save that, and I'll call it lecture 2. And I'll share all these lecture files with you, don't worry. I'll share with everyone, like all sections and everyone. So we have to start today something called JavaScript, which is a fun. And by the way, why we are starting and why we are discussing JavaScript, there are few technologies that are collectively called as front-end web development. They are called front-end web development. Front-end web development. Now, what are those technologies in front-end web development these days, which are very hot, like this, which are very in, and people are working a lot in that? So these are the web technologies, and these collectively are called front-end web development. So HTML5 is one of them that we will be discussing shortly after the JavaScript. First, we'll discuss JavaScript. Then we have CSS. Cascading style sheets. We'll talk about how to style. So HTML5 will give us how to structure out your document, and CSS will tell us that how you can apply styling to your documents. That will be a wonderful thing. And then we have JavaScript. That will tell us the behavioral aspects of the web page. How web page will behave on my clicking, how web page will behave on my scrolling, how web page will behave on my different actions. So that's something that will be done. So we collectively these, and there are some other technologies as well. These three are typically called as the front-end web technologies. And by the way, the course that we are discussing right now, you would have seen the introduction, WEB222. In WEB222, we will be discussing all above technologies. We'll be discussing all above technologies. And then when you come to Web322, when you will move to Web322, you will discuss back-end development. In that, you will discuss, or you will study back-end development, back-end web development. Okay, what you will in that course, I'm just giving you a quick introduction so that you have that in mind, that what you will be studying over here. So our purpose of this course will be that we'll be discussing these three technologies thoroughly in a very deep detail. You will be making projects, you will be making assignments, and you will be working excellent in that one. But anyhow, when you will move to, so this course Web222 will be all above. But when you'll go to the Web322, you'll go to the backend development, and you will start from something called Node.js, which I would be teaching you over here as well. And no worries. Node.js, you will discuss Express.js, you will be setting up servers over there, you'll be doing lots of wonderful things. You will talk about maybe MongoDB, you will talk about maybe Postgres database, etc. Typically, you will be discussing about server-side technologies. Now, I have a question. I don't know if how many people are here and they would be able to answer, or how many people who are just looking at this lecture later on. It's a question to everyone. Do you know the front-end and web-end technologies, or front-end and web-end scripting? What is that? So when a technology is used to develop something for client machines, they are called client-side development or client-side programming. But when something is used to create servers, something is used to create dynamic websites. Anyone? Do you know what is dynamic website? What are dynamic websites, by the way? Anyhow, if you don't know, I'm just telling you, and this should be the part of our lecture for this, and you should know that. Yes. So listen about that. If you are using some language to create something for the client-side machines, which will run in the client's machine. I hope you know that concept of the client and server. I discussed about that request and response cycle. So whenever you are requesting, you are saying www.abc.com, google.com, you are a client, and you are asking something from the server. So you are client side. So all all those languages that will be used to create something for the client-side machine, that will be called as, those will be called as client-side scripting languages. And those languages that will be used to create server-side technology or the dynamic websites. Okay, let's discuss that. So dynamic website, and I'll not discuss it with this one. I'll just take it. Dynamic websites. What are dynamic websites? A very simple definition that shows different contents, or I should say, different / updated contents to every user. On the other hand, the other sites are called static websites that show same content to every user. So dynamic websites are those that show different updated contents to every user. Let's talk about a cricket, like, any sports match going on, a football match, or a cricket match, or something match going on, and you turn, you log into a website, www.sports.com, something like that, ESPN Sports or something. So you go to the website, and currently some match or something is going on. So you know that at that time, whatever will be the score or whatever will be the current status of the match, you will only look at that status of the match. Are you people getting that? So if you log in, you will get the current status or current score of those matches. And after 5 minutes, after 10 minutes, if I log into that website, I'll get a different response. I'll get a different score because that would be updated. Is that making sense to you people? So that website will be called as a dynamic website. Why dynamic website? Because that shows different contents to different users. And let's talk about a website that I've created, my resume and my CV website, and it has nothing to update. So when you open that website right now, or maybe you open after 2 hours, after 3 hours, after 10 hours, after 2 days, you will get the same contents. There will be no updates over there. So Anwar, are you getting the definition? Static website is one that will show same. So unless I, as an administrator, go and do some changings, those changes will not be visible. So you see Facebook, or you see Twitter, or you see these social media sites. So when you go into those sites and you comment something, on the very next second, everyone can see that comment. Is that correct? So when you post something, when you post a comment or something, everyone can see that instantly. But that was not the case previously, before this advent of all this web. There used to be, if there was a comment, you used to send the comment, and the administrator used to read the comment, and then they would just approve, and they would just, put that on the website. So again, a static website that shows same contents to every user, a dynamic website that shows different contents or updated contents to every user. I am expecting that you people understanding the definition of these two websites. Now, to make static websites, or those websites that will work on the client machine, and they have nothing to do with the server. That type of websites are called static websites. So what does that mean? It would be residing on server. But when I say, whenever we request a static website, server sends us the copy of the website, and itself does no processing. Remember that example of my resume. If I have published my resume website, you will go there and you'll say, okay, I want resume of Ramanati, www.ramanati.com. My server will say, okay, here is one copy of Ramanati, because it has to do nothing. But what about the dynamic website? This is for the static one, right? When you are working on a static website. And what about dynamic website? Dynamic website. When we request a dynamic website, server first executes some code / scripts, and produces the result and sends back that result to the client. So again, think about that scoring or the sports website. When you are logging into website, server will have to do some processing, because server will go to the database or somewhere and it will check, okay, what is the current score? It will take out that current score, it will cook, it will prepare a new HTML file or some score result, and then it will send that result to that website, to the client. On the other hand, if that website was a static website, server will not do any processing by itself. Server will say, okay, you need nomonatic resume, here it is. But when you say, I need correct score of a match, okay, the server will say, excuse me. So the server will say, okay, I'll have to just go to the web, like to the database. I'll have to go to the current score, and I'll just extract that current score from that place, and then I'll put that I'll put another HTML for you or another website for you, and then I will provide that website to you. That would be dynamic website. Can I get a few responses in the chat window so that I understand you people are trying to understand that? Dynamic website that produces results and then sends back. Static websites that just sends back the page without any processing, nothing from database. Nothing. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I can see a few comments that people are saying that understood that you. So now a very important thing. So those languages which are used to create static websites, they are called client-side scripting languages. Client-side scripting. They have those scripts which will run in the client machine, nothing to do with the server. Client-side scripting. But all those which are dynamic websites, they are called server-side scripting. They are called server-side scripting. Those websites where server has to do some processing. So now I was talking about, so I hope this is all clear to everyone, including those who are looking at the video later on. Now, so let's talk about this one. Now let's talk about this one. This HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in general, they are all client-side scripting languages. Is everyone getting that? This is called client-side scripting languages. HTML5, CSS, and JavaScript. They are called client-side scripting languages. So in WEB222, we will be discussing only client-side scripting languages. So you will be just knowing that how to make a website that is static in nature. No database involvement, no server processing involvement. Is that making sense to everyone? So when you will move to Web322, there you will talk about backend development. And by backend development, you mean usually, as I say you, not these two, rather, if I say over here, there are certain server-side scripting languages. Have you people heard about PHP? Of course you would have. Have you people heard about PHP? Anyone? Did you ever hear? Of course you would have heard about PHP. Okay. Let me name few others. Have you people heard about? So please give me response in the chat window. JSP. Has anyone heard about JSP? If no, you can write down no, because that will okay. You know, Tanish, you don't know, no problem. So JSP is Java Server Pages. JSP is Java Server Pages. It's also a client-side technology. Have you ever heard about ASP? Active Server Pages. This is also another server. So I'm just giving you a few names, and you will ultimately know them. But you, since the web development student, you should know all these things. You should start to know all these things. So Node.js, Express, PHP, JSP, ASP, they are called, primarily you can call them, these are server-side scripting languages. Make sense to everyone? So I'm just telling you this about. These are called server-side technology, server-side scripting languages. So in this course, we'll be discussing only client-side scripting languages. We'll be discussing HTML5. We'll be discussing CSS. We'll be discussing, the JS, JavaScript. But we won't be discussing any server-side scripting languages. By the way, I should take this Node.js from this list, because I'll tell you, because Node.js is also you might find somewhere that Node.js is not that category, but anyhow, you will see that Node.js comes in client side and both server side, because this is not a technology we accept. Anyhow, so Web 3.2.2, you will study about that. Are you people clear about that? You are getting this clear about this clarity of this one. Now, Web 4.2.2. So in Web 4.2.2, you will again switch back to front-end technologies, but they are some advanced technologies, and I'll tell you the names. You will study React. What do you mean by which frameworks you are talking about? React or Angular? Clear? Okay, let's listen about that. I'm just telling you, React and Angular. These frameworks will be available, and you will discuss that in 4.2.2, because you will again switch back to front-end technologies, but they are advanced front-end technologies. Clev, you got it, because you knew about this React, Angular, etc. So now I'm about to tell you something very interesting. These days you will heard about these two stacks, MERN and mean. Clev, you know that? Of course, I hope you know that. So what is this MERN? The M in MERN is MongoDB, which is a database. You must know that database, what our database is. E is for Express, or specifically if you say Express.js, and R is for React, and N is for Node.js. This is one of these stacks. Now the other stack is, again, same, MongoDB, Express, these are same, rather Express.js. Now, other than React, of course, you can guess that, it's Angular, Node.js. Now, these two are very popular stack these days, and you should know, you being like students of web development, you should know about them. So MERN or mean, what is that? If you know these four technologies all together, maybe for maybe this mean one or the MERN one, you will be called, or you can call yourself as a full stack developer. You people, like, have you ever heard about this? Have you ever heard about this terminology, full stack developer? Full stack? Only Clav is giving yes, okay, yes. No one else is coming over here. Have you heard about full stack development? Full stack. So again, one of the definition, or one of the things you can say that full stack is if you know MongoDB, Express.js. Now listen about that. To learn React, to learn even Express.js, these two, or maybe I can safely say Node.js as well, because I'll be teaching you Node.js over here also somewhere or other. To learn these three things, these three all have the basis in Java. And you can see that Express.js and React is also called sometimes React.js, right? And you see that both have JS. I hope you are recognizing the importance of JavaScript over here. Because if you learn JavaScript, you will be able to learn Express.js, you will be able to learn React.js, you will be able to learn Node.js, and Node.js is something that I'll be discussing one way or other here as well. A little flavor I will give you of Node.js in this course as well. Rather, I will give it maybe today, right today. I'll give you some sense of that one. Righto. Other than Clev, did anyone understand anything? Clev, I don't need any response from you now. You have given me so many responses now. Actually, when you give feedback, it really gives me a sense that yes, everyone is with me, everyone is trying to grasp the concept. Thank you, Pavneet. Thank you very much. Anyone else, or there are only Clev and Pavneet in this class right now? Okay, so if you are looking at this video later on, I would request please you also just always be attentive, and if you have questions, always I've given you my office hours, which is on Tuesday and Wednesday. Please throw your questions on the Teams, and with your name, with your sections prefix, like suffix, Is it right now you are in ZE? So always just put that question. I have just received some questions and the student has done a very nice job. So anyhow, so if you learn these technologies, you will be called as this one. So if you know that the understanding of JavaScript is so very important, and that's why we are just about to start this JavaScript course right now, and we'll discuss JavaScript and lots of cool things over here. Should we move forward? So there are different frameworks that we'll be talking about later on. These React, Angular, and you have one another, this Vue, something like that, and there are lots of things that you will be learning and working on that. Okay. So having said that, now we are about to start the fun part, and that fun part is the JavaScript. First of all, let me give you a quick sense of where JavaScript stands these days. There is a programming ranking website, RankBomb. If you open that up, they basically, rank all the programming languages. So I just wanted to show you, even though you should be knowing that JavaScript is omnipresent these days. It has been used in a wide variety of number of things, even in the games, in robots, and everywhere JavaScript is used these days. And a web developer in this time, if someone says that I'm a web developer and they don't know JavaScript, everyone will say you are not a web developer at all. Whereas JavaScript has become up to that level. JavaScript has reached to that particular level right now, that I can safely say that if you say that I'm a web developer and I don't know JavaScript, no one will accept you as a web developer. Why? Because everyone will say that no, you are not a web developer. Anyhow, so this is RankBomb. They do some ranking of the languages. Do you see that this JavaScript at the very top? You see JavaScript at the very top with Python, with CIS, C#, PHP, and all those. Usually from last very I think maybe last few years, this JavaScript is always standing at the top. So they have just given the popularity rate on GitHub, number of projects of JavaScript. So these number of projects are going in this direction. And now if you see the popularity rank on Stack Overflow, so Stack Overflow questions and all those things have been discussed. So they just take out the graph and you see JavaScript at the very top. So JavaScript is a very interesting language. JavaScript is a very, very important language. And this language, if you learn it properly, and by the way, by properly, I mean that you need to learn it, with all its entire complexities and all those things that I'll be teaching you, with object-oriented concepts that are introduced in JavaScript. Like again, there are some very interesting concepts that have been introduced in JavaScript. So you have to look into that. So if you just study this JavaScript language thoroughly, you have conquered more than half the world of the web development. Because as I said, you remember, or maybe I have not discussed that, HTML hypertext markup language is generally considered as the mother of all of web programming languages. You will always find on the base HTML. In the same way, now JavaScript has penetrated in the world and in the programming world, and now JavaScript has also made its place to omnipresence is there for the JavaScript. You find JavaScript in lots of variety of things. You can make lots of games, and we'll be talking about some of its APIs that you can use. And then yes, as we have talked about these frameworks that are there, Angular and React, they are making JavaScript so more powerful. And on the daily basis, that JavaScript is getting more and more popular amongst the people. Does that make sense to you? So JavaScript is all very important. And I told you, I have just given you this full stack type of something, and I told you that everything that you're seeing from this point onwards, everything has JS associated with it as a suffix, and this JS is making everything easier. If you know this JS like JavaScript in a greater detail, then it means that you are basically you are good to go for these technologies as well. Is that enough motivation to learn JavaScript right now? This should be enough motivation right now that we are learning JavaScript at this time. And again, as I said, this is the right time to learn that. If you learn that, you as I said, you have conquered more than half of the world of the web technologies. Then you will have to just switch on the technologies. But if you know the JavaScript, you will be You will be very good at that. Now JavaScript, let's start that. Okay. So what is JavaScript or JS? You will find the short form as JS as well. So at places you will find this JS written, right? As we have seen in those Node.js and all those things. What is JavaScript? It's a lightweight interpreted language that is used not only for web development, but for other purposes as well. But right now, let's keep ourselves to the web development. In the web world, what JavaScript does, if you see here that I have shown you this front-end technologies over here, front-end technology over here. So listen, HTML5 will be used to structure your HTML document, structure your web page. HTML5 will give you this facility. CSS will give you this feature of colors and stylings on that web page, how to apply style, how to define the looks and feels of your website. That will be done by the CSS. Then comes JavaScript into play. JavaScript will tell you how your website will behave to different events happening to it, how your website will behave to different user actions done on your website, and up to so on, etc., etc., etc. So the first point that you need to remember gives behavior to our web page. The first point, and I'll talk about some other points as well, gives behavior to our web pages. Now, the second point about JavaScript, it gives behaviors to the web page. Now, okay, I understand this is a lightweight language. This is a very interesting language that will give behavior through which I will make my web pages more and more interactive, more and more user-friendly, more and more user-attentive. Whenever user wants to do something, JavaScript will allow us to do that, and JavaScript will be giving us that feature and that sort of things, right? So this is the first point about that. Now, the second point about that is that it is similar in syntax. In syntax, it is similar to C and C++. Now, here I'll stop and ask a question. I think I asked this question before as well in the last session. Have you people studied C language? Like, have you people already studied C language or any programming language before? Okay, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. You have studied C language. So you will enjoy this most because JavaScript has its basis or has its base ground from C language. And this will give us a very important another thing that I will be only focusing on those aspects of JavaScript which are different from C and C++. And there are, mind you, there are lots of aspects that are very different from the C and C++. But of course, it is in essence, it's very similar to syntax. Like syntax-wise, it is very similar, but philosophy-wise, in syntax it's similar, but in philosophy. And what does that mean by philosophy? I'll just let you know. In philosophy, it is a whole new animal. I just call it an animal. It's a whole new animal when you talk about the philosophy. So what does that mean, philosophy? I'll just talk about it. So in behavioral aspects of JavaScript, even though syntactically it may look like at times that it's very much near to C or C++, and you will enjoy working in that. But philosophically, this will blow away your mind, and this will really blow away your mind today. And I'll just do a few things. You will see that it will just blow away your mind. Anyhow, I'll talk about that. So just remember, in syntax, it's almost similar or near about similar to our C and C++, our good friend C and C++. But in philosophy, it's whole new animal, it's whole new world. I should not call it an animal. Maybe someone minds that. It's a whole new world, right? It's a whole new world. Is that making sense to everyone? Okay. Another thing you will hear about when you work in JavaScript, you will hear about another thing, ES. You'll see about ES5, ES6, something like that. So I'll tell you what is this ES. So there is something called ECMAScript. ECMAScript, and I'll show you this this in detail as well. ECMAScript, and I will show you this ECMAScript over here. JavaScript address. If you hear about, if someone says to you that I am working in ES5 or ES6, typically they are anonymous, like, they are almost same as JavaScript. But what are ECMAScripts? ECMAScript is the standardization or standardized version of JavaScript. So if someone says, why I'm telling you, because you are working in JavaScript, and someone comes to say, and I'm working in ES6, you'll say, okay, ES6, we don't know ES6. So remember, if someone says ES6, typically they mean they are talking about some of the advanced features of JavaScript, but they are talking about JavaScript. So again, if someone wants to make you confused, they'll say, okay, you know JavaScript. You say, yes, I know JavaScript. They'll say, okay, write some code in ES5 or ES6. You'll say, okay, I'm just stumped because I don't know any ES6 or ES7. So remember, ES is ECMAScript, and I'll just give you the definitions that I have just pasted over here, and I'll show you. JavaScript is standardized at ECMA International, so European Association of Standardizing Information in Communication System. ECMA was formerly as an acronym of European Computer Manufacturer Association. We are not concerned with that one. Actually, ECMA has given standardizing definition of JavaScript. Before ECMA, JavaScript was like every browser was implementing their own version of JavaScript. And so ECMA came here and ECMA said that now I'm giving you some certain standards that you need to follow. Is that making sense to everyone? You can just, just remember that, and you can always have a look at it. You can always read that if you want, that what is ECMAScript. There are ECMAScript versions. If I show you ES5, ES6, something like that. If you see ES5, ES6, it will tell you that what is comparison to ES5 and ES6. ECMAScript 5 is there and 6 is there. What is that? What was introduced and what type, and etc., etc., etc. So there are lots of things that you can just have a look at it. But don't worry about that. You just you need to remember that, okay, ES5 and ES6. If someone says to you ES5 and ES6, they are typically referring to same JavaScript that we know. Make sense to everyone? So JavaScript as a standardized version of ECMAScript, you will just know that, okay, this is the JavaScript that you can run. Right on. Now, big question comes. Okay, so we'll see that. We have talked about the syntax. It will be similar to that one. Now, how to run JavaScript? How to run JavaScript. Now here I'll tell you a few things, and I'll take a quick break of 5 minutes, and then we'll come back, and then I'll just give you. But I'll tell you how many ways are there to run. We can run JavaScript by using Node.js. You would be surprised. Okay, Node.js, what does that mean? I'll just let you know about that. What is Node.js and how we'll be using. By the way, we'll be using Node.js over here. But anyhow, we can run JavaScript by using Node.js. We can run JavaScript by using browser. Browser typically means that we can embed this JavaScript in HTML and run that over there. We can run this JavaScript in REPL. Read, evaluate. I think it's process and loop. I'll see that. I just don't remember. Process and loop or something like that. Or print or loop, something like that. Anyhow, so just remember this, and I'll take a quick 5 minutes break here. That we will be running, we can run JavaScript by using Node.js. Why? We can run JavaScript by using this browser, like of course my Chrome or something. We can run our JavaScript by using REPL. And what is this REPL? Read, evaluate, process, and loop, or something in loop. And I will detail you about this. Now, what you have to do during this 5 minutes break, I think you can refresh yourself, but alongside that, you have to do something. You can just put that in install, and you can just go away for the break. Oh, just hold on a minute. I'll tell you just what we'll be using. We'll be using the Visual Studio Code, by the way. Visual Studio Code I'll be using as well. But Constantine, just keep to these tools that I'm talking about and just see. So you have to do Node.js download. You have to download the Node.js. If you people have, if you don't have. So go to this website, Node.js download, and always install this you know, long-term stable version. This is called long-term stable version. Long-term stable version. So you have to, if you have Windows, you can install by using Windows. If you have Mac or maybe something like that, so you can always install with that one. You install this, Node.js, and once you have successfully installed this Node.js, when you will go to your command prompt and you will write Node, you will get something like this: welcome to Node.js version, something like that. Or maybe you can check that. It's not quitting. How does it exit? Okay, so now what you can do is that you can say node dash dash version. Is that right? Yes. So node dash dash version, if you put a node dash dash version, it will give you any version that you have installed. I have this version 14.16. So whatever version comes in, you will have that one. You by the way, you will have 16.1, 13.2. Just don't worry about that. You just install Node.js, and whenever Node.js installed, you write node dash dash version, you should get this version. Or if you write only node, you will get this prompt over here, which I can just exit or something like that. So I would expect that you people like you will be installing this one, and once you install this one, I'll give a 5 minutes break, and after 5 minutes break, I'll come back and I'll let you know that how we can just run these programs. Right? So let's take a 5 minutes break, and I'll be back. According to my clock, we are 2:28. So I'll be back at 2:33. Break till then. So welcome back after the break. So I told you before break to install this Node.js, and whenever you type something like this, node dash dash version, you should get a version. And most of you are saying that they have done that. Now we need to just see one more thing, and we have to install one more thing. By the way, one the Visual Studio Code. If you don't have that one, if you people have Visual Studio Code, that's wonderful. But Visual Studio Code is wonderful, by the way. Let me tell you, it's a very nice, lightweight edit. Oh, okay, sorry. I'm not sharing my screen. So the other thing that you need to install is Visual Studio Code. So I would just copy this one to you, and I would like you everyone to just install this Visual Studio Code as well, and then we'll be seeing that how we'll be running JavaScript, and what are the basic syntax of JavaScript, and what are the different ideas in JavaScript that we'll be looking into. Oh, you have Visual Studio, sir, or for our C, do you still need the VS Code? Yes. Yes. So Visual Studio, Clef, Visual Studio is a very heavyweight type of environment IDE, and if you will install Visual Studio Code, you will see that this is very lightweight. It takes very less time. It is very user friendly. It's a very it's a very sort of friendly type of something. So I would rather request you that even though you have that, I would request you just download this one as well. This is yes, you're right. And as I told you that this lecture code folder, I'll share this lecture code folder for you, and I'll just type here week 1. So we are just right now. I'll share this lecture codes folder with all of you. Don't worry. Copy. So you mean copy means what? So I am inside this week 1 folder. So you can just open up a new folder with yourself, and in your environment you have to open up a new folder. So everyone, quickly just install this Visual Studio Code and let me know that now you are done with that. Okay, a quick feedback from everyone. Okay, downloaded. Good, very nice. And you open up a folder for yourself. Like I have just created this week 1, and I'll share my folder as well with you people. If you whenever you have to study that, you can come over here and study that one. So right. Okay, just give me a second. In the meantime, you are doing that. I'll just pause recording for a second. So right. So in this week one folder, so I would like to say you that let's like I will just create one file, and I will call it maybe first.js. So I give it a JS extension, JavaScript, and you might see a different icon because I have done so many configurations here, so many extensions have been installed over here, and I will let you know with the passage of time that what type of different things that you need to install, and you can do that. So one thing that I will again re-emphasize and reiterate is that you have this Node.js installed in your system. That should be the case. If you have installed that in the system, then you will be only able to do all these things which I am doing right now. So here, usually the first program that we write in any programming language is the Hello World program. So here I'm just writing a Hello World code. Okay, there is someone in the waiting room. So just write down console.log and write down Hello World and put a Terminator. Right, and save this one. Save the file. So I told you that there are 3 ways to run a file after installing. What we have to do. Okay, when you have installed this this Visual Studio Code, you just create a folder for week 1 or something for yourself on your own machine. I am creating this week 1 folder, and I'll share these files with you later on. So you just create a folder, and inside that create a new file. You see the new file option over here with the name of folder. So you just click on that and you can create a new file. So I've just created first.js. Got everyone? Now, after doing that, we need to open terminal. So here is the terminal. I can see new terminal. There are shortcuts for that one, and later on you will know the shortcuts as well. So how to run this JavaScript file? This is a very simple JavaScript file, just a hello world file, and I want to run this. To run this JavaScript file right now, as we are working in Node.js, so I'll tell you how we can do that. Just go over here and write node and first.js. You'll get hello world very quickly. But I'll tell you where this JavaScript is running, by the way. This is our command prompt, by the way. This is our terminal. So you should understand that right now we are running JavaScript in our own machine. Wonderful. And I'll just let you know what does that mean. So first of all, who is able to do so? Node first.js, and they get this hello world output. How to open terminal? So Constantine, you see terminal is over here. If you are using Windows, of course, or if you are using Mac, you will find terminal over there. And terminal and new terminal. Right, Constantine? Now, who has successfully run that? Console.log hello world. Yeah, maybe Clef, do that. Maybe it sometimes happens. Even though Node is installed and does not require a reboot, but sometimes it might do a trick for you, and you can just you can do that. Yeah, no problem, Cliff. I'll be just I'll be waiting for you. I'll just that. So someone has asked the question, what do we need to write in the terminal? So in the terminal, you need to write node and then the name of the file. What is the name of the file? First.js. Name node first.js and press enter. Then this file will run. So someone who is asking in private, are you able to do that now? Node and the file name first.js with .js. And those who logged out and logged in again, are you able to see the node now? Node.js. Wonderful. That's wonderful. Good to know that your code is working, your file is working. Anyhow, now I'm just understanding that everyone is able to do so. So you see that the first thing is running Node.js. But remember one thing, and I hope you people like you have recognized that when I'm running this by using this command prompt, I am running JavaScript in my machine. I'm not running this on web server. By web server, I mean that I'm not running it on a website. Rather, it is that right now working in my machine, and it's the code that is running in my machine. And JavaScript, since its beginning, at its birth time, JavaScript was only meant for the client-side scripting for the websites. But now JavaScript is used for the desktop publication as well. So right now, I have created a program that is running in my machine, in my command prompt. Is that making sense to everyone? So JavaScript has become so very powerful that now I can run it on my machine as well. Now, if I want to run it in like, I told you that there are multiple ways of running it. So first is Node.js. So this is the way that we have done that. We have run it by using Node.js. We have installed Node.js, and we will use Node.js a lot of time. And right now, I will just, before we start before we start HTML, we will be running all this JavaScript in our machine, like like command prompt. But I'll tell you how to make that, how to run that with HTML. So now I'll ask you people to go over there and create a new file and call it index.html, or you can call it anything, whatever. But extension should be .html by the way. Extension has to be .html, but other than that, you can do anything. Like name can be anything, index.html. And intentionally, I'm not giving the complete HTML code right now. I'm just giving you a code that will add this JavaScript. So I'll say, okay. So I'll write script src equal to, now, what is the name of my file? First.js, first.js, and I will close this tag. Script src is equal to first.js, and then script tag close. Like, I have, this is script tag, and this is script tag. I'll copy and paste this code for you everyone, because I know that because this is the first time you will be looking at this code, so you might have a problem. So I'll copy and paste that. So just paste this one, just paste this one in the index.html file. Right? So if you have done that, now hit save, Control S, or Command S if you are on a Mac. So press Control S, like save, and now close this and open your folder where our document is. So this is my week 1, and this is my folder index.html. Now double click on this index file, which is coming up as a Chrome document. Just double click on that one. Oh, okay, it's running on my other screen. Now you won't see anything on this web page. Why? Because of course there is nothing on this web page, but I'm about to tell you where you will find that. So now on this web page, if it is running, now go and right click on that and go to inspect. Inspect is a very interesting area that we'll be using quite often in our course, lots of time. But in this inspect area, if you go to console, you will find hello world over here. You'll find hello world over here. And one of the interesting thing is that you see that it has been mentioned, it is coming from first.js file. And if I click on that one, it will open up this first.js over here. But I don't want to open it. I just want to see the console. So everyone see that now our file is running, our JavaScript is running, but because I have given console.log, so it is logging something in the console of the web browser. And remember, this console of the web browser is a very important place where we will be coming quite often during the course, and we'll be coming back and forth to this area to find out the different things over here. Got everyone? Did you find this console area, everyone, and see that your file is running over here? That's wonderful, Mohammed. Now, this was the second place where we can run this one. Browser. So I have run this in browser, but of course, browser is not directly showing it. We will do lots of things that will be directly visible on browser as well. Right now, browser is not showing anything at all. Why? Because I have just given a console statement in my first.js. So that console statement is just running in my browser, and that browser is just running this, calling this script, and that's running this script. Right? And there are lots of things that we can do with this one, but I'll tell you. Now the third way of REPL. REPL is very interesting. REPL comes with two or three different places. The first place for REPL is this command prompt by itself. REPL is at two or three places. Now the first place is over here. If I come over here and just write node and press enter, just node, you see that it says welcome to Node.js. It gives me a prompt. This prompt is called REPL prompt. So for example, if I say console.log hello and I press enter, it runs that. I say 2 + 2. If you have seen, those who have seen Python, they know that Python interpreter does work like that. So 5 - 3 + 4 is what? Like that. So this is called REPL. A rapid environment, an environment where we just keep on typing some raw raw JavaScript, and that raw JavaScript will be becoming an output for us, and we can just quickly check that one, and there is nothing that hinders that specific things. Right? So this is the REPL. One of the REPL is there. Now I can just exit out of it, and this REPL is found in our browser as well. So in this browser, if you come here after this hello world, the same place where we saw this hello world, if I come over here and I say console.log, I am in browser, REPL. Don't worry about this undefined. I'll let you know what is this undefined. I can see here 2 + 2, 2 + 3, whatever, 5. 5 - 3 is equal to whatever. I can do lots of interesting things over here. So I can run my JavaScript over here as well. Got the point, everyone? So these are the few places where we'll run our JavaScript. Sometimes I'll be running JavaScript in REPL, because when we'll be working in JavaScript, when we'll be working with the HTML. Right now we are not working with the HTML, but later on I'll be working with the HTML. So I'll be coming into this REPL as well. Sometimes we'll be using the REPL over here as well in this environment where we have the terminal, and I can use this REPL over here as well. And how I can use this REPL, I can just press the node, and I will get this REPL over here, and I can come back out of it. Right? So right now we are not concerned with websites, and I won't be working on websites, so I'm not deleting this one. And if you want, you can just delete that, or you can just keep that. But right now, for the time being, we'll be running our JavaScript over here in this one. So we will be running JavaScript in our machine. Remember, JavaScript now can run on machine. It can run on client-side scripts, like again for making our websites. Right now, I'm not talking about websites. Right now, what the screen that you see, if I am running this file over here, it's not the website that is running. It is basically running into my machine. So JavaScript can be used to create programs for my machine, for my desktop publication. I can create softwares for my computer by using JavaScript. But who will facilitate this? Node.js. Node.js is an open, it's a runtime environment that facilitates us that we can use JavaScript not only for the client-side scripting, not only for the web development, but also we can use JavaScript for our desktop application as well, desktop development as well. Does that make sense to everyone? I have given a complete, a long statement. Is that making sense to everyone? Arshana, thank you very much. So other than Arshana, is there anyone who is understanding this one? That Node.js is enabling us to run JavaScript in my machine. And right now I'm running it as I run C or C++ program. So right now, just consider JavaScript is running, and it's running as equivalent to C or C++. But when I run this in my web browser, it is basically JavaScript is running with the HTML, and it is running with the web browser. It is running inside the web browser. And I show you that web browser, it can run with the web browser. It can run with the REPL as well. REPL can come in my command line as well on my machine. And also it can come, the REPL can come in the browser as well. I think it's a good introduction for that one, right? So Clef, you got it? So this is a structurally thing that I wanted to show you. And now what we'll be doing, we'll be right now we'll be mostly working in our this console environment. So it means that I will be mostly working with JavaScript right now, and unless we discuss HTML, I'll be mostly working in my machine, and I'll be showing you some of the code that will be running over it. Now let's start talking about JavaScript and my notes file, because we are talking about JavaScript syntax, or we can say important ideas. Rather, right now I should show you your, because I won't be discussing. I won't be discussing everything, but I can show you some, like this notes from notes. I'm just I was typing this from the notes. So if you see that in some important ideas, like see, JavaScript is case sensitive. So customer count is not the same as customer count. So again, remember one thing, that JavaScript is case sensitive, number one. Name things using Camel Case. Now you people know about the Camel Case. Do you have idea about this Camel Case? Naming conventions. Naming conventions. Do people know about these naming conventions? Someone says something. Okay, you know about that. So it uses camel casing. So I'll not waste any more time. There are Pascal cases. Do you know how many cases are there? Can anyone tell me how many cases are there? Because I don't want to just waste my time. If you know Camel Case, I'll write this all things in that case. There is one called Pascal case. There is one called snake case. There is one called kebab case. There is one. I think this is fair enough. So there is one called Camel Case, where if you are combining two words, you will keep the first one smaller and the second letter will come as capital. So my name, if I want to write my name, oh, no problem. So these are called naming conventions, by the way. Pavneet, these are called naming conventions. So naming convention means, Camel Case naming convention means when you have to combine two words to name a variable or to name a function, you always use Camel Case. What does that mean? If you have to make a variable last name, so I can write this variable last name, something like this. But this is no naming convention. So we usually do what? I'll do last name. Pavneet, are you getting that? This is a Camel Case where the first letter, the first alphabet of the first word is kept small and the second one is small. So if I say first name, so I'll say first name. If you say father name, so you'll say father name. If there are three words, you can do that. So date of birth, you'll say date of birth. Every new letter's first letter should be capitalized. Date of birth. And JavaScript uses this one. So you have to use always camel casing for naming in JavaScript. Would you remember that? Anyhow, I'll tell you Pascal case as well for the same word. So for last name, it will be last name. So me getting that, and everyone getting that? Father name. So the first letter of every word should be capitalized. Date of birth. Right? So this is called camel case. Now, snake case is what? Snake case looks like very simple. Last underscore name. This is also allowed. First, but all letters will be always small. First name, and up to so on. You can just see that. Now, what is the kebab case? Kebab case is very interesting because CSS uses kebab casing. Kebab, I think you people would know kebab. What are kebabs? But anyhow, so kebab case, last name. How will you write? Last dash name. How will you write first name? First dash name. How will you write father name? Father dash name, like that. But out of that, remember, we will be using camel case in JavaScript. Right? So JavaScript uses more camel case. So it uses camel case. Semicolons are optional. I have put in semicolon after this one. So they are optional. I can leave that out. But I have one extension that will always, when I hit save, it will bring that one. Word of advice. Even though camel case is sorry, not camel case. JavaScript is has this optional statement terminator as you used to use in C. But word of advice, that always use that, because that will keep your practice of putting that, because there are lots of languages that you'll be working on. You will be needing that again and again. So always keep this statement terminator after the statement. Comments are like C and C++, same, exactly the same comments as we had seen C++. So we, as if I say REPL, I'll say REPL, this is a comment, and this is also a comment. I'll say read, evaluate, etc., and start. So same comments. You can write comments in the same way as we write in the JavaScript, like as we write in the C language. You people are you are familiar with that. Okay, so comments are like that. JavaScript will mostly ignore white spaces, tabs, new lines. In this course, we'll expect you to use good indentation practices, and for more code, you can clean and readable. So now JavaScript will just ignore all the white spaces. So if you are giving a tab or something, it will just ignore that one. So you have to keep yourself, and you have to just look into your code. So they say that this is poorly indented and needs more white space. Function add AV, something like that. I'll talk about that one. But it says that you have to keep your code neat and clean. And by the way, there is one extension with this one. I'll just let you know. I'll just tell you something interesting. I just written down all this in a very bad format. Very bad format. I'm just trying to write a function or something, and I've done all these bad things. So, but if I hit save, it is all getting prettier by itself. Now, please be attentive. Go to view and go to extensions. Go to view and extensions, everyone. And in extensions, write prettier. Prettier. Write prettier. And see this colorful prettier, and install this this code formatter, prettier code formatter. Install this quickly. And when you are done with installation, write down done in the chat window. Prettier, install this prettier. View, extension, and prettier, search for the prettier, and done. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Once you have done that, there is one more step left that I want to tell you. You see, whenever I hit Control S, when I save, it makes it prettier. You remember I had made it very bad. You see, and it looks very cool that when you will when I hit Control S, save. Okay, I've done a mistake. If you make this kind of mistake, if you make syntactical mistake, it will never do that. So if I hit Control S, it will just do that. So now you need to do that. Now everyone go to File, Preferences, and Settings. Files, Preferences, and Settings. Here, write down Format and press Enter. Format. So there will be some settings appear for the formatting. It says default formatter. So drop down and select code formatter prettier that we have installed. Prettier code formatter. Select that one first of all. And if you scroll down, there is a format on save. Check this one. This would be unchecked for you. Check this one. And you don't need to do anything. I think everything will be done. So just prettier, select prettier, and select this editor. And now after class done, I want everyone who has done that and press done for that one. You have done that. After class done. Okay, Anmol, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. You people are like you are all following me very nicely. That's good. Only Anmol has done that. So now, Anmol, if you have successfully done that, you would see that if you make your code bad like that. So Anmol, let me know that if you are able to correct that. When you hit Control S, it will be corrected by itself. Magic. Clap. Wonderful. That's wonderful that you are done. Okay, so I just you can just type this one if you want. I've not given you this I've not discussed this one. Okay, that's wonderful. It's correcting that one. That's wonderful. Okay, anyhow, I just didn't want this function to discuss, but now I'll discuss this function and rest of the things as well. Okay, so prettier we have done that. That's wonderful. So functions, JavaScript programs are primarily based on functions. Functions are something very, very important in JavaScript. Functions are very important in JavaScript. Rather, you can call that JavaScript is a function-based language, functions-based language. We'll create a function. But you have done functions in C language before, but let me tell you that functions are very different in JavaScript. Very different in JavaScript. And I'll tell you that how they are different. But of course, I'll just let you know that why they are different. But functions are very, very, very different in JavaScript. Just keep that in mind. But we can have this function. Block statements, we have again blocks. If you want to create a block, the same in the C language. Curly braces is basically, and then JavaScript statements, same like C language. You have two statements. But remember, C language needed to have a main function in every program. JavaScript does not. JavaScript not looks for any C language, like any main function. JavaScript will run any function that is available. So you see that when I am just running over here, I can just run a single statement over here without any main function or something. Got everyone? So you have to keep in mind that it is different in that aspect as well. Now, one of the very important points. So you can read this one, and for functions, I can just read that one for you as well. And one of the primary building blocks of JavaScript, a function defines a subprogram that can be called by other parts of your code. JavaScript treats function like other built-in data types. So in JavaScript, functions are treated like data types. Isn't that surprising? You will see they can be stored in variables, they can be passed to the function, they can return from the function and generated at runtime. Learning how to write code in terms of functions will be one of your primary goals as you get used to JavaScript. If you want to learn the right JavaScript, you need to know the right functions, because functions in JavaScript will be used very differently. You can store them in variable. You can pass them in the function, and there are lots of things. Now for your surprise, let me tell you, variables are declared by using var keyword, which is the next thing which I want to say. Var my function. I can even do this. I can do this, and I can say function. So I can allocate. So even now I'll have to use this Terminator as well. I can allocate this function, complete function, to a variable. Isn't that surprising? Because you are not used to this in C language. C language does not allow us to use function that way. So we can store that in function. We can do lots of things, and I'll tell you all those things. So functions are very different, and you need to know. And now var is used to define variables in C, like in JavaScript. See, in C language, you used to have int, float, and things like that. But JavaScript gives you a very simple handler of var, and JavaScript is a loosely typed language. If I say var a, I just define a, and whatever I will store in this one will become the data type of a. If I store 1, it will become a, I can type that console.log a. Let me show you, and I'll close this one. I'll just comment this one out. You say var a equal to 1, so we can use this var. And now see, if I run this file, I get 1. Now in this same a, I can store something like this. Hello. And I can console this one as well. Control C, Control V, and now if you see my output, you see 1 and hello. So a can be stored anything. So data type is not required, as strongly typed languages, they always require a data type with that one, that you need to have a data type associated with them. But JavaScript does not require that. JavaScript, you just use a var, and that would be enough for your that. So var keyword is used. You must use var keyword to precede a variable name, but you do not need to provide a type. As against C language, you remember that we used to have a type. So here they have given some examples. Var year, var season is equal to summer. Season name. You see, Pavneet, do you see that they have used this camel casing over here? So camel casing is used because season name, seasons S is capital, is like starting small, and then N is capital. So you can define that one. You can just say year is equal to 2001, and you can just store, and these are all the things that you can do. So JavaScript variables must start with a letter A to Z. This is the same naming rules that you follow in C language as well. So they can start with underscore or $sign. They cannot be reserved keyword. You cannot say, remember, you cannot define main as a variable name. Here you cannot define, for example, console as a variable name. You cannot define log as a variable name, and like that. So these are the things that you cannot define. If you forgot to use var keyword, JavaScript will still allow you to use a variable, and simply create a global variable. We often refer as a leaking a global. So, if you don't use a var even, JavaScript is so user-friendly, it will create a variable for you, and that is called a global variable, and it does something for you, but always make it a habit of creating a var is. So var a is equal to 6 is a good, because a is declared as the a, and b is equal to 7 bad, because b is used without declaration and is now a global. So b will become a global for everything, but when you define it var, it's a defined variable. It's always considered as a good variable. So now I will just I'll just leave you with some of the things which I will discuss lots of things with you, but I would give you a quick reading for this coming weekend or something, and because we have not covered lots of things, and I will be covering those all operators and all those things. There are most of the things that you know already, but I will be leaving you people, like you everyone, you need to just read out about these like data types until this point. So I would expect all of you to just read out these notes. What are the data types? There is only 2 data types or 3 data types in that one, or maybe the most popular one. Bigger one is the string. Then we have number. Then we have Boolean. These are the most popular one. Then we have symbol. Then we have undefined, null. I would request all of you to just read about that one on your own free time, and just come up with something. And if you can just go about this and read about these notes. I'll be discussing most of the things later on, because I have to talk about these looping and something, because you know that, but yeah. So these are the practice questions. If you ever able to just come over here and see that if you can just attempt some of them, or if you're not, no problem, because I will be just giving you that next week as a practice questions, or we will just talk about these practice questions. Could you share the code of script as well? Yeah. So I will share. So by the way, Tanish, I will share everything with not only you. This code script, I will share everything. Rather, as I said, I will share this complete folder with you. This lecture codes folder. This lecture code folder, I will share completely with you. There will be notes as well. There will be code as well. And just wait for that. Today I'll be shifting that in my OneDrive, and then I'll share the link with you. Tanish, got the point? Don't worry, I'll share everything with you. Okay, thank you very much everyone for joining in. I hope you enjoyed today's lecture. Was it useful today, Anmol? Did you find it useful? Okay.